Thank you all for attending First Thursday. We will be, it's on Calculate Your Carbon Footprint. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope everyone is doing well, staying healthy and safe. And we appreciate your interest in this topic and being with us today. Before we get started, I wanted to say thank you to Minnie, and we look forward to seeing you again in person here pretty soon. So stay tuned for that. I'll share a little more about that. Before we get started, Morgan is going to go ahead and launch a poll. If you don't mind, take a moment to answer those questions while we begin. It helps us make sure that we're providing the best program we possibly can. So please take a few moments to answer those. We appreciate you making the time to let us know how we can do a better job for you. Again, thank you to our sponsors. Our lead sponsor for First Thursday is Williams, and our neighborhood partners are Public Service Company of Oklahoma and PSO Wind Choice. Our community advocates are American Waste Control, Covanta, the Met, One Oak, Save Our Streams, Spirit Aerosystems, Tulsa Farmers Market, Bank of the West, and our newest sponsor as of last month is Tulsa Veg Fest. So please give them a round of applause, send them a thank you in the chat, and because without their support, we couldn't bring this program to you. And of course, we wouldn't have a program if you didn't come. So we thank you as well for being here. I also want to thank my board members, and I see quite a few that have jumped on, but again, my whole board has just been an amazing support to us, and I just want to thank each of them for being here and supporting us these last couple of years in particular. Our board president, which is Richard Cox, Carrie Rowland, past president, we have James Williams, our secretary, Case Keeling, our treasurer, and you also see there we have Johnny Bouchard, Connor Carroll, Wayne Isaacs, Carolyn Janning, Rick Katarski, Nadia Kirilova, Aaron Larder. You also have Thelma Latimer Davis, Ann Money, Pam Taylor, and Mike Teague, Stephanie Regan, and Sharina Perry, and Kathy Wiedenhoff. Thank you to their leadership. We're so glad to have them here. Send them a note and thank them for their support to helping Sustainable Tulsa be the best organization we can. I also want to introduce our newest team member, Morgan Fairley. She has just joined our team as of a couple of weeks ago. She is our first sustainability education and events coordinator, and we are so excited to add her to our growing Sustainable Tulsa team. So send her a note, welcome her to our community. And she's not a stranger to our community. She's been a part of numerous projects as a colleague and a peer in the past, and she'll be helping with several of our projects this year. So anyway, send her a welcome, and I'm sure you'll see more of Morgan. I also want to just thank my entire team. I'm just honored to work with each of them. Teresa Kerrigan, Jill Maud, Sam Crossan, and again, our newest member, Morgan Fairley. So thank you to them. Give them some gratitude and thank them for their hard work and what they do for Sustainable Tulsa and getting sustainability education and action items to you. For more information about becoming a supporter of Sustainable Tulsa, it's easier than ever. It's $25 and put your name on the website saying that you are a change maker in our community and want to see more sustainability across our state. We will have two programs coming up. This month, we have March 24th. We have our next B2B Case for Sustainability series, and we will be in person at TU. We thank TU for hosting us, and it'll be on renewable energy. And so look for that invite coming out soon. We're very excited to be able to see you again. And it should be a really great conversation around renewable energy. Our next First Thursday, this is kind of a big deal. We will be again in person, also hybrid, but we will be in Oklahoma City. We're going to be in Oklahoma City for our First Thursday. It'll be an evening program. We will be offering it as a hybrid event between 6 and 7:30. And come to Oklahoma City with us if you're from the Tulsa area. we'd love to have, come and see our Oklahoma City friends and be a support to that. More information will come out also in your invite box. So look for that coming up. Okay, and then this coming fall, we will be launching our Sustainable Tulsa app. So stay tuned. We're in pilot mode with that, and so Morgan has joined our team to help with that, and so we're really excited. Again, that's a way to track the education that we're providing out there and to help you track that for yourself and improve our sustainability habits. There's so many things that we can do. It could be overwhelming, and where to get that information. So we're doing our best to provide that to you. So stay tuned on that. We're pretty excited about that. And of course, thrilled to have Morgan on the team to help guide us along that journey. You can also be with us if this isn't enough to see us once a month, and join us on Facebook. We have a Sustainable Tulsa has a Facebook group that we developed last year, where we have a Facebook page, but we have a Facebook group that gets together and kind of shares content with each other and things coming up. So connect with sustainably minded folks and join that. Teresa or Morgan's gonna put that link in the chat for you. So look for that. So now I'm going to pass the mic over to Sam Crossan, and she's going to introduce our digital booth. Sam?
Thank you, Corey. First up, we have Williams.
I don't think we're hearing the video. But we'll drop that video in the link there. But we do appreciate very much Williams and their support of our work. And we apologize, for some reason the sound is not coming through here. But again, we just appreciate very much their support and all that we do here at Sustainable Tulsa, and been a big supporter of our First Thursday program. So
yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, we'll get that working next time. Our next sponsor is PSO Wind, and we have Carrie.
Yeah. So good afternoon, everyone. Excited to be here today to hear Teresa's presentation, and would kind of kick it off a little bit to talk about your ability to reduce your carbon footprint by enrolling in a great program that PSO offers called Wind Choice. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about it before, but any PSO customer can enroll, either residential or business, and you can make an investment in 100% Oklahoma wind, which is a great thing for our state. I don't have to explain to you the bonus as far as environmental impact, but it helps with our local economy. And by having more of our customers enrolled in Wind Choice, it shows that there is a real demand in the state for wind, which will help push more economic development for wind in our state. And the best part is it's very affordable. So there's a calculator. I'll put the website link in the chat. And if you guys have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you so much, Carrie, and thank you again to PSO Wind Choice. Next up, we have American Waste Control, and they're actually having their soft opening today at Tulsa Recycle and Transfer. Home of Mr. Murph is up and running again, so that's super exciting. And next up, we have the Met, and I will pass it over to Allie.
Yeah, so all of our recycling centers are up and running, and we have some events coming up that we're really excited about. If you want to click on over to those. In April, on April 14th, we have the Go Green Night for the Tulsa Drillers. So if you want to come by, it's a green jersey night. So they have those giveaways. We also have coming up our Enviro Expo downtown at Guthrie Green is going to be on the 20th of April. So if you're downtown, that's going to be from 11 to 1:30. And then coming up this Saturday, we have our big spring clean event. It's going to be from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the fairgrounds. And that's going to be a big recycling event for a lot of hard to recycle items like shredding. We're going to do some paper shredding, e-waste, tires, fire extinguishers, ammunition, old medication, fluorescent light bulbs, medical sharps. We're going to take plastic grocery bags, batteries, cardboard. So yeah, all sorts of hard to recycle items. Bring them on down to the fairgrounds on Saturday and we'll be there.
Thank you so much, Allie. Next up, we have streets and stormwater, Save Our Streams. You can visit them at the Household Pollution Collection Facility at 4502 South Galveston Avenue in Tulsa. And next we have the Tulsa Farmers Market, and they are open this weekend, this Saturday. It's pretty good weather to go out there and see them. Their main market season opens on April 2nd. And next we have Bank of the West, and Eric is here for Bank of the West.
Yeah, I just wanted to show a little image there. Actually, we have with our 1% for the Planet checking account, a carbon tracking tool as well. So if you're interested in seeing the carbon footprint of your purchases, it shows kind of an estimate of each purchase and then your total for the month as well. So just another little neat carbon tracking tool that I thought kind of fit in with the theme of this week's call or this month's call.
Fabulous. Thank you, Eric. And lastly, we have Tulsa Veg Fest, and Melissa is here with us from Tulsa Veg Fest.
Hi, my name is Melissa Furman. As Sam said, I'm the co-founder of Tulsa Veg Fest, and I'm here to invite everyone out to Guthrie Green on June 4th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's a free, family-friendly event. We feature 50 to 75 vendors, a 100% plant-based food court. On the main stage, we're featuring 4 expert speakers from around the country and a local expert on soil health and gerontology. New this year, we have a demo stage up on the covered patio area. And on June 3rd, we're hosting a fundraiser dinner at Mother Road Market. So mark your calendar for that. Details will be announced soon. And also new this year, we are working with a local organization to make Tulsa Veg Fest a low waste event. So mark your calendars, June 3rd for the fundraiser dinner at Mother Road Market, and June 4th at Guthrie Green, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. for the big event at Tulsa Veg Fest.
Thank you so much, Melissa. And again, thank you so much to all of our sponsors. We're very grateful. Corey, back to you.
Thank you, Sam, and thank you to all of our sponsors and all the great work you're doing. We're thrilled that you've been able to share that with the community here. It is my pleasure to introduce to you who you already know, but Teresa Kerrigan. She is our scorecard manager with Sustainable Tulsa, and she was generous enough to help provide this particular program for us today. And it's going to be on carbon footprinting. So a little bit about Teresa, if you don't already know. She has firsthand knowledge of business concerns and best practices to bear on issues of sustainability. She is passionate about the potential for businesses to empower themselves using tools like the Sustainability Scorecard to understand their impacts and optimize their resource use. As a business analyst at George Washington University, Teresa honed her skills translating data into insights for leadership teams, bridging the worlds of business operations, technology, and data, combining her master's in environmental resource policy with years of experience leading technical teams and developing business strategies. In her free time, though, Teresa volunteers in her community here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and leads invasive exotic plant remediation efforts and supports national voter registration outreach initiatives. So, Teresa, thank you so much for being with us today, and we look forward to hearing what you had to say and to help us understand more how to calculate our carbon footprint.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you all for being here today and for taking the time to do this. I need to share my screen, sorry. This is more of an interactive first Thursday than we normally do. We welcome your questions in the chat as we go. Sam will be collecting them and make sure that they get asked when we pause midway and again at the end.
Teresa, we see you in presentation mode, just to let you know.
So you're seeing 2 screens?
We're seeing your presentation mode where, yeah, click there. Let's see.
I apologize.
There we go.
Nope, something's wrong. I'm gonna need to go back and fix that because now I can't see any of my notes. Sorry, guys.
No worries, Teresa. This is a great time. I just put in the chat, actually, if you have not yet completed that entry poll, go ahead and take a look and share your responses with us, and that would be super helpful. Thank you, guys.
And I just want to reiterate, since this is a working meeting, if at any portion you have a question, please feel free to put it in the chat. And I know when me and Teresa worked out when we're going to pause, and I'll be able to answer or ask her the question for you.
Thank you, guys. Let's get all the people over here. Okay. So like I said, this is more of an interactive. Please do put your questions in the chat. This data that you see here is from the World Bank. As we discuss this today, I'd like to mention that we really are focusing on carbon. This does not include other greenhouse gas emissions. Average carbon footprints do vary by geography, and they do this for a number of reasons. The US national average is about 16 tons currently. In Oklahoma, it's a little bit higher. In Tulsa, it's in between. It's between the national average and Oklahoma's average. Differences in average carbon footprint for geographic areas can be due to a number of factors. Primarily, average temperature impact on heating and cooling needs, fuel mix that is used, whether that's heating oil, natural gas, hydroelectric, or like Carrie mentioned earlier, wind power, the walkability of an area, whether you are driving your car or walking for most of your errands. Local building code insulation requirements can have a big impact, and of course, consumption habits, which we'll talk a little more about later. As I said, this is an interactive meeting. Morgan is putting these links in the chat. If you are local to Tulsa and Oklahoma, please go ahead, pull your bill in so that or log into your account so that you can see your numbers. I'm going to be going through my bills so that you can see where to find the specific data we'll be using today on your bill. As people are pulling those together, I just wanted to go through why we chose this. Really, this tool we thought was the best combination of reputable and easy to use. This today is not sponsored by Terrapass. Morgan is going to put a link to this calculator in the chat. Really, the things you see here on the screen. Terrapass's tool incorporates elements that are left out of other calculators, like we looked at the EPA's tool, but they don't include flying, which is something super and carbon intensive that many of us do, myself included. This tool calculates your car's miles per gallon based on data that you enter, rather than asking you to know that ahead of time or to guess at it. Does not require your email address, it does not require you to download anything, and it's actionable. You'll also see here in just a moment that it's really a one-stop shop to calculate carbon footprints per households, events, and businesses in one place. When I say reputable, I want to circle back around to that because it's important. Terrapass submit themselves to an annual portfolio audit by an independent accredited third party. The audit covers their offset quantity, offset quality, transparency, and verification. I'm going to hop over into the calculator itself. If you put the link in your browser window, this is where you will find yourself. We're going to utilize today the individual calculator. I apologize, my other screen is over here. That's why I'm not looking at you guys right now. We're going to start off by entering vehicle for your household. So there is an opportunity here to enter more than one vehicle. So we can start with our own. You'll see on the right-hand side as we go through, when we complete, for instance, the area entering vehicle information, this will populate, and the total carbon footprint calculation down here at the end will also update as we move through the tool. So we have the vehicle type, it's a car, 2011. I drive Camry. Let's find. It's also going to ask you for your annual mileage. It doesn't have a monthly option, but if you don't have a number, the US average is 15,000 miles per year. And so that's what I'm going to use. But in Oklahoma, because things are a little further apart and there is a little bit less walkability, it's likely that that national average is higher here, or rather that average for miles driven is higher here. So you'll see this number change over here on the right. Once you've completed this, just click Next. It's an automatic. So here you'll see this. We also know that many people have a 2-car household. So if you click on that link, add another vehicle, it'll take you back so that you can add a second vehicle. Again, this is for your household carbon footprint. So however many vehicles you have in your household, please go ahead and enter those here. This is so it can calculate the miles per gallon for you. If you use some other calculators, it will ask you if you already know the miles per gallon that your car gets in terms of fuel economy. Let's say, for argument's sake, that we take the more fuel efficient car on those longer trips. Again, you'll see this update here on the right-hand side. So here we have a 2-car household with the specifics entered and the total vehicle estimated emissions for those 2 vehicles, given the parameters that you entered for your household. If you have another vehicle, please go ahead and enter it. We're going to move on to public transit. And so you'll have some time. I know many of you don't have a lot of public transit in your daily lives, but this has a wonderful option of estimating miles weekly, monthly, or annually. And you'll see these drop downs throughout the tool. They're really handy, but it's also important to pay attention to them to make sure we get the most accurate picture. So I probably estimate my usage annually. Weekly, monthly, speaking of trains. And then, so once you have all of your household's cars, all of the public transit for your household entered into the tool, we'll move through and we'll see those get calculated. Air travel, like I mentioned, is one of the reasons we chose this tool, because it incorporates that and because it is something super carbon intensive that we often do. So you can choose here, and whether it's by the specific flight. So this is going to show you which destination from, which destination to, and allow you to pick one way or round trip. The estimated number of miles traveled, again, one way or round trip. Gallons of fuel. I'm not really up on how far a gallon of jet fuel will take me, but for those of you who are, I'm impressed and I want to hear from you in the chat later. The estimated average trip length, this is in the duration of the trip. So did you take a 2-hour flight? Did you take a 12-hour flight? So pick the one that works best for you. I'm going to choose probably specific flights. That way we don't need to look up how far it is from one airport to another. And again, it's going to offer you the opportunity to add multiple trips. So you can add the different flights that you take. But once you do choose that mode of selecting the flights, it's going to lock you into that. More flights from Tulsa. And let's say this one is to Taipei. The default is to round trip, but if you have a multiple one-way flight, you can also add that here. Just keep adding flights until it brings you back around to your original destination. As you can see, air travel is a hugely carbon intensive activity, gets captured here. The next part is going to be home energy. So this is where those bills come in. Go ahead and enter your zip code. And we're going to toggle back over into those bills so I can show you where to find the information we're going to enter on this page. Before we hop out of here though, it is useful to note that these drop downs offer you the option of dollars or kilowatt hours, dollars or volumetric measure of how much gas was delivered, those sorts of things, as well as the monthly and annual options for drop downs here. And so we're going to utilize those in a step-by-step process as we go through this. Because energy is less expensive here in Oklahoma, it's cheaper than the national average by a significant amount. And so if you enter dollars, you will get a lower estimated carbon footprint than you expect or than would be accurate. So I'm going to use kilowatt hours for the electricity generated here. And I'm going to use I'm going to use my annual electricity, and I'm going to show you where to find both of those numbers on your electricity bill. So we're going to toggle out of here for a minute and into a PSO electric bill. So if you guys are local to Tulsa or Oklahoma, it is likely that your electric bill looks a lot like this one. This one's mine. This is from January. And you'll be able to see the first easy place to find your kilowatt hours for that month here at the top of your bill. But if you scroll down, we get even more useful information. So if you go down to page 3, you'll see something that looks like this. In the red circle is your annual kilowatt hours used. And then down here, you'll see that same, in my case, 83, that's for the specific month of this bill. And in order to get the most accurate picture, I'm going to use the 12 months total rather than trying to guess or add up what my monthly amounts are. So I'm going to take 1368 here on page 3 for my annual usage and put that into the calculator. So again, that's kilowatt hours instead of dollars. And for me, that's annually. But you also have that monthly option if that's what you have access to. Then for natural gas, we're going to do kind of the same thing with an added element. Here you'll see that the options are dollars or hundreds of cubic feet of natural gas delivered. And this right here is what I'm going to use, this volumetric measure. And I'm going to use monthly for mine because that's all that appears on my gas bill. But if you have annual, I do encourage you to use that. So switching over to a natural gas bill. Again, if you're in Oklahoma, your gas bill probably looks a lot like this. This is mine from February, I want to say. February. And here on the first page, you'll find exactly what you need. We're looking for units delivered, and the units are going to be measured in either MCF or CCF. MCF here on the Oklahoma natural gas bill is thousands of cubic feet delivered. In order to change this MCF into the CCF used in the tool, we're going to multiply by 10 to go from thousands to hundreds of cubic feet. And in order to do that, we're just going to move the decimal point over. So for this month, I am going to put 96 hundreds of cubic feet of natural gas delivered on my bill. So 96, we take that over to the tool. And again, that's per month for me because my gas bill doesn't offer me the annual option, but if yours does, again, please do. That is it for me for my home energy needs. I don't have heating oil, propane, gasoline, or diesel, but if you do, please utilize those drop downs for volumetric measures if that suits you better. And do go ahead and enter what you have in your household here. So this brings us to a total. As you can see, each of these areas have populated as we worked our way through the tool. If you want, you can enter your email address and your name. If you're following along with a group today, you can enter your group ID, and that will help tie all your data together collectively in aggregate. You can also opt out of newsletters, mailing, that sort of thing if you want to. And so my total carbon emissions footprint for this tool is about 42,000 pounds. 42,000, there are about, let me back up just a second. There are 2,000 pounds in a US ton. And so you can either do the math yourself or Google is here to help us. You can enter this number. I'm going to copy and paste these pounds of carbon dioxide emissions into Google. This is just pounds to tons, keeping in mind that a metric ton and a US ton are slightly different. It's 2,000 pounds to the US ton. Oop. Giving myself away a little bit there. Maybe I didn't hit copy properly. Okay, 41,889. Sorry guys, I'm having a glitch here. It's not letting me click on the tab. There we go. Let's try that again. So about 21 US tons. So that's really right in line with Oklahoma's average, but it is above the national average, and it is more than 5 times the international average per person for carbon dioxide emissions. So that is, on an international sense, quite high. But now that we have this number, we're going to hop back into our presentation today. I'd like to pause and take a moment. Does anybody have any questions?
And I will say that we will be sharing this video tomorrow with everyone. So if this is going a little fast or you didn't have your papers ready to go, you'll be able to go at your own pace to walk through this. So so know that as well. It looks like Susie Scott has a question. It says, is the average for a person or a household?
Per capita. It is for an individual.
Per individual.
So the international average of about 4 tons, that's per person per year. Likewise for Oklahoma and Tulsa.
Very good. Any other questions?
We have do the homeless have a carbon footprint? The tool says 0.
People who are currently homeless do have a carbon footprint. We all do as a baseline, aside from our residences and from our cars. And in fact, that feeds in perfectly to my next slide. Are there any other questions?
All right.
Okay.
We'll keep moving along for now.
Thank you for that segue. So yes, there are a number of things that are not included in today's calculator. You may have noticed some things are missing from the calculation. This is part of that. So today's calculation doesn't include things we buy, shoes, a new phone, anything that we purchase beyond fuel is really not reflected in this calculator. Likewise, things that we eat, food, drinks, morning coffee, our electronics, our medicine, those are not included in this calculator either. And so everybody does eat and needs to eat and drink and have, basic needs met. And so there is a carbon footprint as a baseline associated with that. And we have a lot of control through our choices about what that carbon footprint looks like. Packaging is one of the things that's not captured in this. Things that we think of as incidental, like plastic cups, packaged food, and single-use items in particular, all have a carbon footprint. Shipping and transit of goods from their origin to you. I know that I have been doing a lot more online shopping since the pandemic, and that comes with a larger footprint than doing shopping in person. Other common practices that contribute to carbon dioxide emissions: eating meat, using plastic bags, running a lawnmower, using concrete, all of these things have a carbon footprint. It's also worth noting that although residential heating and cooling and private transportation are a significant portion of national carbon dioxide emissions, industry, electricity production, and agriculture are responsible for the majority of carbon dioxide emissions. This means that in order for the greatest impact to be realized, industries will also have to change their practices. This chart is from the EPA's 2019 data on how that breaks down specifically. As you can see, we all have a role to play, and I'm grateful that you are here today to see what our individual portions of that role are. But today, like I said, we are focused on individuals. A quick rule of thumb you see on this slide: flying a mile is about 1 pound of carbon dioxide emissions. Likewise, anytime you go through a gallon of gas in your car, that's about 1 pound of carbon dioxide emissions. This really highlights what we are talking about next, which is that trees absorb relatively little carbon compared to how easily carbon dioxide emissions are produced. The data you see on this page is from the Vermont Department of Forests, Parks and Recreation. Trees of different species and ages can differ greatly in the amount of carbon uptake and storage. Hardwoods with dense wood tend to store more carbon than softwoods with lighter wood. Young trees have only a fraction, of course, of the carbon stored in older, large diameter trees. Annual uptake of carbon is related to tree vigor and growth rate, and healthy, fast-growing trees can accumulate carbon faster. So what you see here in the bottom right, the emissions by one car traveled for 1 year. Put another way, a fully grown, mature canopy tree, like an oak tree, can absorb up to 48 pounds of carbon dioxide per year. That's pounds. One tree. Hardwoods need 80 to 100 years to reach maturity. Softwood trees, such as yellow pine, can mature in as little as 30 years in the right conditions, but they do not absorb as much carbon from the air as we saw in our previous slide. Oklahoma is unfortunately experiencing a decline in hardwood trees. It's a long-running decline. And of course, trees provide other important environmental services like habitat and stormwater mitigation. But again, today, narrowly focused on carbon. Now that we know more about our carbon footprints, how easy it is to produce carbon dioxide emissions and how hard it is to sequester them, what can we do? There's an old joke that the best way to fill a bathtub with hot water is not to run the water spigot faster or to turn up the heat on your hot water heater. The most important thing to do first is to put the plug in. In that same spirit of conservation, you may be familiar with the 3 R's. In recent years, people have added to these to include 5. Refuse is about being thoughtful in our consumption habits and finding alternatives so we only acquire things we really need. This might take the form of borrowing something you don't need often, like a ladder, or in my case, or a hyper-specific tool. Instead, borrow one instead of buying one. Many of you probably already refuse plastic when you go to the grocery store because you bring your own bags and containers. You may choose to refuse some things outright, such as styrofoam, because they can't be recycled in our curbside bins. Reduce, this might be setting your printer default to print on both sides of the paper or choosing to buy goods with less packaging. It might be insulating your home better or choosing to set the thermostat closer to the outside temperature. Perhaps you can walk or bike for some trips instead of driving a car, or maybe you can arrange a carpool. I know our team did that yesterday on their trip to Oklahoma City. Reuse, I have a good story about this. Last summer, someone gifted me basil plants. They had grown from seed and they used the clamshell container that grape tomatoes came in because it already had perforated holes in the bottom. Maybe you buy eggs or glass bottle milk in containers you can take back to the vendor when you're done with them. Most dry cleaners are happy to take back wire hangers because it saves them money. Thrifting, consignment, hand-me-downs are also great examples of reuse. Recycle, of course. If you're not sure that something can be recycled, it is better to throw out that item than to contaminate the recycling stream. Morgan is putting a link in the chat about what can and cannot be recycled curbside in Tulsa. Rot is for composting your kitchen scraps and yard trimmings, which is admittedly more about solid waste management and methane than it is about carbon. But utilizing the mulch function on your lawnmower can reduce your need for chemical fertilizers, which are generally made from fossil fuels. Some people have gotten up to 8 R's by adding refill, repair, and regift to this list, but I think you get the idea. Since you all have your electric bill handy from the calculator today, I wanted to take a moment to share something we can all do to help. Choosing renewable sources for your electricity can make a big difference in your carbon footprint. We saw that pie chart from the EPA talking about how carbon emissions are distributed in the United States. This is something you can do. PSO's Wind Choice program has a handy calculator on their website. If you follow the link in the chat, to see how much it would cost your household to switch to 100% Oklahoma wind power. And I'm actually going to show you that because I have my bill right here as well, and that might be helpful. So on your electric bill, I have 100% wind choice at my house. And you can see that that costs me 40 cents additional a month in order to have that for the 83 kilowatt hours I used in January. So that 40 cents can also be seen in the calculator. Like I said, 83 kilowatt hours. If we hop into the tool, this is the same link that Morgan put in the chat. This is where it will take you. If you put your monthly kilowatt hours here and you choose the percentage you want, you'll see that that number is the same. And that's something we can all do. Also, like Corey said, be on the lookout for the Sustainable Tulsa app. It's debuting this coming autumn. It will be full of things you can do to conserve resources, enhance community, and save money. We mentioned some other tools we looked at. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's tool is less comprehensive than Terrapass's. It does not capture any public transit miles nor flights, but they do offer built-in suggestions for reductions, and their tool is easier to go back into and tweak, to hit the back button and make adjustments, to use their drop downs and see if you changed a particular behavior in your household, what impact would that have? If you want to take a look at the particular tools you see here, Morgan is putting links to those in chat. We didn't want to put any additional steps between you and calculating your carbon footprint today, but if you are interested in a deeper dive, you can download, and it has more detail than what we went through today. Today we're talking about carbon footprints, obviously, but I also do manage Scorecard, which helps businesses track and improve their sustainability metrics. The calculator we use today is just one of the many resources in Scorecard. Remote work displaces emissions from the traditional workplace to private homes. So this year we added remote work as a Scorecard item to help our members capture this distributed impact when calculating their scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions. Those are greenhouse gas emissions, not just carbon, but they are important to consider when looking at the whole picture of how we all have an impact. If you have any questions about Scorecard or improving sustainability at your business, I hope you will reach out to me. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much, Teresa. That's a lot of great information and either a beginning entry point or a strong reminder of some of the things that we can do and how to think through our resources and what each of us can do. It's going to take, as you mentioned earlier, every one of us, every one of our partners in our communities to be a part of helping to reduce the carbon load that we've been putting out there. And so I definitely good reminders on some of those things and how to properly calculate. I think that's the big trick here. And so thank you for that. Are there any questions for, I haven't seen any in the chat since earlier. Are there any questions here for Teresa, just as, you know, again, as we mentioned, this will be out there and available for you coming up. If you have any questions about what you can, how, you know, tips on calculating your own later today or tomorrow or something like that. So any questions? And Sam, it's not in presentation mode. I mean, it is in presentation mode. There you go. Yes, any questions? And we'll look in the chat there. Do you know if, this is from Kathleen, do you know if traveling by train is better than some of the other options?
So for trains, trains are definitely preferable to things like a private vehicle, but and absolutely better than flying if you have the option, if you have the time. And I guess the question is, are trains better than any of the other options?
I think that's the intent of the question, yes.
So public transit is preferable to personalized transportation. A lot of the time those trains and buses are running anyway. And so the marginal carbon footprint is pretty minimal for something like that, especially compared to a private vehicle.
Okay, thank you.
Massive carpooling.
Do you know of a calculator that includes items such as food, clothing, phones, home appliances, etc., in order to calculate the carbon footprint? And
I don't know of one. We did have a good hunt around, but if anyone else does, we would love to hear about it. Please, if you know of one, put it in the chat. It's one of the things we can do, actually. That's a good point, that finding out the carbon footprint of individual items and asking corporations what that carbon footprint is can be a way to hold them to account.
Teresa, I know in Europe, they do put that number, that amount on lots of products. And I don't know if you're aware if that's coming to the United States or not for a lot of the products that we can purchase here, the carbon footprint of that item.
I haven't seen it yet. I would love to see that, but currently I haven't. But again, this is part of why we work with large numbers of eco-conscious people. And if you know of a way to get that information, please do put it in the chat for us.
Looks like Janelle puts a calculator in the chat. Thank you, Janelle. All right. Any other? We have time for maybe one last question, and then what we'll do is we'll also stick around too for those that want to kind of unmic, and we can have a discussion afterwards, as well as we often do after our first Thursday. If we were in person, that's what we would be doing anyway, sipping our last bit of our coffee or finishing up our lunch together. So we try to, okay, yes, exactly. Have a little bit. So, okay, any last question? Looks like, oh, Eric has suggested, yeah, they have a tool in their mobile app that estimates the carbon footprint of your purchases based on the merchants you use your debit card at. So that's great to know. Thank you. That is very helpful. I think that's the thing. People want to do the best they can, and sometimes it's really hard to know how to pull that information together. Is it the right information, and where they can make the biggest impact? And oftentimes where you can make the biggest impact is also what is most natural for you, what you'll keep up, what you'll maintain, and starting with those things that you feel that you can make a part of your own habits, and then add to those. So looks like another source was shared there too. So thank you for sharing those links in there. Any last question? Keep looking in the chat there, but definitely getting a lot of thank yous. Teresa, great job. Thank you so much for helping to pull this together and help to walk us through some of the steps. I know many of us have calculated our carbon footprint over the years. I think I did one about 20 years ago, and it said 3 worlds had to exist on the way that I was living. And that was very sobering to see that, and really helped me start thinking, well, where are ways I can be more mindful about that? So it's good to be aware, find out what can be the next steps you can do to make that difference. So, okay, great. Well, thank you so much, Teresa. And again, with this, thank you all for joining us. Again, this is recorded, and it will be available for you tomorrow. And also, just again, want to thank you all for being here. Stay safe out there as well. And we look forward to seeing you in person. Our first opportunity to see you in person, again, will be our next first Thursday. I'm sorry, our next B2B. It'll be the 24th. We'll be out there at TU talking about renewable energy. So we hope you'll join us for that. And we'll be in Oklahoma City on the 1st. So again, thank you to all of our sponsors: Williams, PSO, PSO Wind Choice, American Waste, Cavanta, One Oak, Save Our Streams, the Met, Spirit Air Systems, the Tulsa Farmers Market, Bank of the West, and Tulsa Veg Fest. really, we couldn't do the work we do without all of their support. And again, thank you all for joining us. We look forward to seeing you very soon. And again, stick around if you'd like, and we'll have a chance for you to ask more specific questions if you'd like. And we look forward to seeing your faces. So have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you soon. All right, take care.